talk about kind of growing up here a little bit. I mean, I know it's obviously a whole different world now than it was then.
Oh, yeah. I can remember playing or riding my bicycle everywhere.
Yeah.
We grew up on Spence Avenue, right there beside Binion Tire Company. Yeah. That's where our house was. And there was one girl I dated lived in Lake Hills. It was a new subdivision then. And I would ride my 10-speed bike all the way to that Lake Hills every day that I could. And so, you know, it was... and we didn't come in at night. I mean... Yeah. Mom and Daddy tell us when supper was there. If you wasn't there to eat supper, you just didn't get supper that night.
Yeah, there's a window.
That's right.
You gotta catch it.
And so, you know, it was like Mayberry when I was growing up here. Of course, I went to school at Atkinson Elementary. Then Fairmount was 4th, 5th, and 6th grade then. Mm-hmm. I went to the old junior high. In fact, we were the last class at the old junior high school before they tore it down, right there where the city park is now. Yeah. We were the last class there. And then I went to Central High. It was 9th and 10th grade at that time. And then I went to Newnan High, 11th and 12th.
So you touched everything.
I did.
And so, you might have talked about this earlier. When you got out of high school and you went down to college. It was in South Georgia?
It was Jacksonville, Florida.
Jacksonville. Okay, so yeah, very far south. And came back, and what happened? Did you run into somebody or?
Yeah, I was at Newnan High School. I stopped by there. I came home to visit Mom and Dad, and went to Newnan High School to see Miss Landreth. Now it's Miss Andrews when I had her, and Miss Crumball. They were two of my favorite teachers. So I went by there to see them, and when I was coming out of the school, Willie Pritchett pulls over there in his Newnan police car. And he pulls up there and said, "What are you doing now?" I said, "Well, I'm doing heat and air work, going to school down in Jacksonville." And he said, "We got some openings. You ought to come and work at the police department." So I thought, oh, okay. Next morning I woke up, I said, well, I'll just ride by there.
Yeah.
So I went by the police department, walked in the door, and Jimmy Wyndham was chief of detectives at the time. And he looked at me and said, "What are you doing here, Wood?" Because he coached me in baseball when I was little.
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, I thought I'd come see about a job." And he said, "Come on back in." So he walked me straight into Chief Helton's office and said, "This boy want to talk to you about a job." He said, "You need to hire." And Jerry didn't ask me anything. He just looked up and said, "Okay, when you want to start?" So that next Monday, I came up there. They put me one patrolman, carried me to the uniform store. I got a uniform, and
just like that,
I started policing. Been doing it ever since. Now, of course, that's a lot different back then, Joe. Yeah. You could police at 18.
Okay.
And I just turned 19, and so I couldn't even buy bullets for my gun, but I could carry a gun. So I'd get Mose Martin, my sergeant at the time. He'd go to Gibson's down here, and he'd buy my bullets for me.
How old did you have to be to buy ammo?
21.
21? Mm-hmm. When did that change?
Well, you still have to buy handgun ammo.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
357, all that.
Yeah.
22s you don't.
Okay.
Rifle rounds you don't.
Yeah, okay. Because I remember doing that as a kid. I'm like, okay.
The handguns, 21. Yeah. So for 3 years.
So did you start off like in patrol and that? All that?
I did.
Okay.
John Floyd was my lieutenant when I started. In fact, Blue Cole, the mayor of Sharpsburg, John Floyd is his step-granddaddy.
Okay.
So I've known Blue since he was a little baby. And so, it's John was a good lieutenant. I rode with him. Instead of putting me with another officer, I rode with him for a long time. Jimmy Arbor was on our shift at the time. He'd been there about a year and a half before I came. And we became partners in a lot, riding together and stuff. And then he went on to be a detective. A desk sergeant job came open. So they asked me if I wanted it. Well, I wasn't ready to come off road, so I said no. And Jerry Helton came to me and said, "You need to take it. It's a sergeant position, and if you're going to move up, you got to go."
That's the right.
So I took it, and just so happened that one of the desk sergeants at that time was started having a lot of issues, and so he was out of work a lot, and it was on my shift. So I ended up being the road sergeant, and he ended up being the desk sergeant. and it ran on for a little way, for a while. Then they had an opening in detectives. And in fact, I was talking to Larry Hammett at the time about coming to work for him as an investigator. Because that's what I wanted to get into.
Yeah.
And then he didn't have anything open at that time, but we were still talking about it.
Yeah.
And so Lee Galloway was city manager at the time, and he found out I was talking to him about an investigator job, and he called me up and said, "We're going to give y'all a new detective job at the first year in the budget." Oh. He said, "So if you'll stick around, I can't say you'll get it, but you'll have a good chance for it." I said, "Okay." So I just went ahead and stayed, and when the new year came, I did get the position, and Yarb and I became partners again.
Yeah.
And then I partnered up with Rodney for a while, Rodney Riggs, and then Ronnie Williams got to be chief when Jerry retired, and Mike and I wanted to try out the school resource. That's where I wanted to get back to.
Yeah.
School resource, and they just were starting it up.
When was that? While you were at the police department? Oh, I didn't know.
In fact, it started, I think, about 89.
Okay.
Because I made detective in 90. And the county put Chris Stevens in East Coweta, and we put Officer Scott Williams, I think was his name, at Newnan High School at that time. So I knew I wasn't going to get the one at Newnan High School. So Mike had, Chris Stevens was leaving and go to the air marshals. So Mike and I got talking about that. Well, Chris didn't leave, but Mike had an opening come open in investigation. So he offered me an investigator's job to go ahead and get my foot in the door. And so I went on over and been there with him ever since.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it sounds like you that was something that you wanted to do from the get-go with the school thing. What appealed to you about that?
I like working with the kids.
Yeah.
In my off time, when I was at the city, I was a substitute teacher, and so I was teaching.
I know that. What were you doing? Where?
At Grantville.
Yeah.
And at Moreland most of the time. But I went anywhere. I did a lot of subbing at Fairmount School for PE and things like that, and because they didn't have many men that subbed.
Yeah.
And so I got a lot of jobs. So when I was on second, at the city, we worked 7 days on shift. So you'd work 7 on second, 7 on first, and then 7 on third.
Yeah.
And 2 days off in between. Well, when I was on second and third, I would get substitute teaching job. It helped supplement the pay, and I had 2 young kids at that time, and I enjoyed working with the kids.
Yeah, so it was a good fit.
Right, and then I coached Little League ball, I coached basketball, recreation basketball. I even coached White Oak soccer a couple of years, and absolutely ain't knew anything about soccer. Never played it. In fact, the first when they asked me about coaching in White Oak, they said, "We're short of coaches. We need some coaches. Will you coach? We know you're involved." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Y'all gonna give me some training?" They said, "Yeah, we'll have a training class before the season." I said, "Okay, good. I'll do it then." Well, about a week before the season starts, they still hadn't had the class. So I asked the guy in charge. I said, "When's that training class?" "Oh, we run out of time. We're not gonna have it this year. You'll do fine." So, first day I had my team there, I looked at them, I had 10 boys. And I said, "All right, how many of y'all have played before?" And about half of them raised their hand. I said, "Good. Y'all tell the others what to do." And we came in second place that year. So
really? Man, not bad.
Well, luckily, one of the kids' fathers couldn't be there all the time, but he knew
filled in the gaps.
And he helped me a lot. And we did. So I coached soccer.
Man.
I coached a 4-H BB gun team. We went to the Nationals several times.
Really?
Went to BB gun team.
Where would y'all practice and stuff like that?
At the old fairgrounds at that time. And we actually started having competitions with the police department and sheriff's office.
Really?
And our BB gun teams usually won.
What were the age demographic for stuff like that?
I think they started around 10 and went
Yeah.
up to about 12, 13.
Oh, that's cool.
It was, and those kids, and I tell you, I had 2 boys. The girls that was on the team were the easiest to coach.
Yeah.
They didn't have it in their head. They could already shoot, you know.
Yeah.
and they would listen to
They're
you.
fresh.
Oh, yeah. And I had some real good girls that could shoot, man.
Yeah.
They'd burn it up. And we went to nationals every year that we were coaching. So
Wow.
Tom Little was actually in charge of it. But in fact, the good thing about it is when you went to competitions, you could challenge shot placement if it broke a line or whatever. And if you won the challenge, of course, it helped your points. So I got to where I was pretty good at challenging the judges' calls, and we were winning points. So the team went out and made me a T-shirt that said "Challenge Man" on it and gave it to me. And I still have that shirt somewhere. I got to get that. But it was pretty cool. It had a big C on it that said "Challenge Man." I liked it.
Well, it got results. I mean, no denying that.
But, we used to have a lot of fun.
Man.
And that's what I enjoyed.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get back into the schools and do the same thing with the schools.
Yeah.
And actually, I got in at just the right time. Mike let me kind of run with it, and then when we started growing, we school saw it was a good program. We didn't. A lot of agencies, school resource officers, nothing but their security. They don't get involved in, all the stuff that you need. And so we were doing a lot of proactive stuff and not just reactive stuff.
Right.
And I really, I taught Mike into letting me send all the SROs to investigator school so that we could investigate our own crimes and not have to call the the county investigators off what they were doing to investigate stuff.
Yeah.
And it became a very good unit. In fact, school system several times had come to us and said, "We'd like y'all to take over all the schools."
Yeah.
And we told them, said, "No, we don't want to get in that. We let the
Here we
cities,
are.
we let the cities handle their
Yeah.
schools, and we'll handle because it would have took a lot, and it's a lot now."
Yeah. Well, how was that transition this year? I mean, trying to all of a sudden. I mean, I remember talking to the sheriff about it in terms of, you had a pretty short amount of time to put, and you don't want to put just anyone in that schools. I mean, you know better than anyone, it's a certain kind of personality.
Right. When we started up our SRO program, that's when I realized that we couldn't put just anybody in it because they had to have a desire to work with the kids.
Yeah.
Or you would treat them all like they were criminals, and you couldn't do that. And that's one of the things, when I first went to schools, you were thinking they're all bad, you just got to deal with it. But when I found out it was maybe 1% of the kids that were bad kids, it helped me a whole lot personally. And so when we started doing the SRO program, I joined the Georgia Association of SROs. And I became the president, and I stayed president, I think, 4 years. I just kept, nobody wanted it, I guess, but they just kept making me president. But I wrote a training program that I started teaching to all the sheriffs and the chiefs at different conferences and stuff about how to pick an SRO. Because most agencies, at first, they would stick the ones they had in trouble with, out of sight, out of mind.
Oh, wow.
And they were sticking them in the schools, and it was not working.
Yeah.
And we were called on by several agencies in Georgia because of our school resource program. And the school systems were calling on us because our school system was talking about how ours was doing. And we were doing a good job at what we were supposed to be doing. We wasn't making criminals out of kids.
Right, yeah.
And that was one thing Sheriff Yeager stressed to every one of us. Don't make criminals out of these kids. Let's work with them. Let's mold them where they need to be.
Yep.
And so that's why I think it's such a big program, why it's so important that we continue. And when they added them to the elementary school this year, I thought it was a great thing. But when you're adding that many officers, you have to be careful. And luckily, I think from the officers we've put in and that Newnan's put in, and the one down in Groundville, I know she's doing a good job. I think most of the ones we've got going right now, they're getting acclimated to it, and they're going to do a good job. It's a good thing for Coweta County.
Yeah, for sure.
It really is.
Well, speaking of that, I mean, since this kind of with the county and the SROs, did you say that when you came over in, was it 96, 95?
95.
Once you got involved with that in teaching and statewide, where was Coweta County in rank to the rest of the counties in terms of implementing the SRO program? Were we one of the first counties to kind of do it? Were we on the tail end?
We were fairly early in it. There were some agencies, some school systems that already started doing their own police departments. Augusta school system already had their own school police.
Yeah.
And were doing their own thing. And there were a lot of the metro schools.
Savannah's one, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there were some of the bigger places, but for our size, we were fairly at the beginning of it. And that's when they started calling us. Some of these smaller agencies started calling us wanting.
They could get an apples to apples.
It
so they
was.
can kind of see how you were doing it. So, what were you, the director? Or what was...
I was the lieutenant at that time.
Okay.
But
at the... where you were the training for the schools?
He promoted me to captain, put me over training in the school.
Okay, all right.
And we started up our training unit at that time because the state had done so many cutbacks. Mm-hmm. So I starting training programs for the police officers too, which is not much different than working with the kids.
Yeah.
A lot of times. So, but and we built a pretty good training department.
Yeah.
We went to post a Peace Officers Training Council and found out all the requirements of what we needed to do a training program. We worked with Clayton County Regional Academy at that time. They're no longer around, but we worked real close with them. We started up our own jail certification program that we actually taught at the sheriff's office. And so we were training people from Carrollton and Heard County and Meriwether County too. And the only problem was, because it was a certification program, you had to go back to Clayton to take the test.
Yeah.
And so we'd have to bus them up there, let them take the test, and then they would be certified.
Yeah.
But it worked out well.
Yeah.
I mean, and then, of course, everything got so big and running. Now, to keep the 20 hours we're required by the state, we have to offer so many mandatory classes, too, that the state requires. And then the sheriff wants all the certified folks to get at least 20 additional hours.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's the training unit stays pretty busy.
Yeah. And so where have you been within the sheriff's office? I mean, you obviously school, SRO, courts too. I mean,
courts. Well, I went to the jail after I left the training and SROs.
Yeah, cool.
The jail, Colonel Adcock at the time was getting ready to retire. So the sheriff asked me if I'd be interested in going to jail, and I said, nah, let me think about it. He said, well, we rocked on for a good while, and I went home. We talked to my wife. It went on for about a month, and he called me back in the office and said, well, have you thought about it? I said, yeah, we thought about it. He said, good, because you'll start in January. So I was a deputy.
Time to make peace with it.
I was deputy director in, I think it was 2007. And Colonel Adcock stuck around probably about 3 or 4 more years. And then I became the director of the jail.
Yeah.
And I stayed in the jail about 7 years. And then Colonel Yeager retired from the courts. And because I'd worked so closely with the jail and the courts, several of the judges asked the sheriff if I might be able to take his place. And he asked me about it, and I said, yeah, I'd like to do that. I've done it all.
Yeah, I mean, that's the ticket.
In fact, I told him at one time when he did move me, I said, you think you'll find a place for me one of these days? You keep moving me around. But, he's been very good about that.
Yeah.
And the good thing about it, he wasn't one of these that tried to micromanage.
Yeah, that's huge.
He give you a position because he trusted you. He expected you to do the job.
Yeah.
And he left you alone to do it.
Yeah.
And which was real good. That's what I learned, I think. And see, I've had two Well, 3 really. John Floyd was that type of lieutenant. You knew the job. Get out there and do your job. Jerry Helton was that way as a chief. He expected you to know what you need to do.
Yeah.
He made sure you had the training, but he made sure you knew what to do, and he expected you to do it. And then Mike was the same way.
Seems like you get them good results that way. I mean,
You
you're placing the faith in people, and because you have faith in them, or they wouldn't be in this position. So
That's right.
let them go. Well, one thing I think Sarah had written about this a few weeks ago, maybe even more recent than that. She was saying that, contrary to popular opinion, the jail is not at capacity. It's not. I mean, the need to expand a jail isn't just immediate. It's.
That's what I was talking to John Lewis about that before I left the jail, and probably 14, I guess, something like that, 2014, 2015. There were several times we were well over capacity, and that's when we first started talking about it. And then the state came around and started moving inmates a lot quicker and doing a lot better about it.
Because that seems to be what it is.
That's what it was, overcrowding our jails because they were already convicted, and we couldn't get the state to take the inmates. But they came around and started moving them a lot quicker. So yes, we're staying close to capacity, but we're not running over. But every now and then, and that's usually right before court. We have to pick up all these borrow inmates from all these other counties, or even the prison system that have new charges here.
Yeah.
And we'll have to pick them up and bring them in here. Then we fill it all up. And but as soon as they're convicted or they put it off again or something, we carry them straight back to where they came from.
Yeah. Well, in your opinion, do you think maybe in terms of getting a bigger jail, would that be something like a 10-year, 20-year? I mean, where do you see something like that happening or the need for it?
Probably within the next 5 years.
Okay, next 5 years.
Yeah, because it is. We're staying at capacity, pretty close to it. So, I mean, I think we have 380 beds somewhere around there now.
Okay.
And we're staying
there
about 350 or so.
Especially with the population, obviously, too. It just keeps
it's
going.
Growing, yes.
Well, that was another thing I was going to ask you about was the recent stats about actually crime. It was a 15% decrease in the county.
Right.
That was incredible.
It is. And we attribute that to visibility, being more accessible. The ownership program that Mark Feniger, really the major over patrol, he initiated when he took over patrol when Colonel Kinsey retired. And I like the idea of it's pretty much the same thing I did in the schools. You take ownership of the school when you become an SRO. It's like a small city and you're the mayor.
Yeah.
Well, when these officers are assigned to these areas, it's pretty much you're the chief of police in that area. If there's a problem, you need to handle it.
Yeah.
And we've given them authority to do their jobs, what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
You know what to do, just do it.
Yeah.
And but we also tell them we expect them to learn your people.
Yeah.
If you see them out in the yard, working in the yard, you got a few minutes, stop, have a conversation, let them know who you are. It's helping because people will tell you more when they know that you're listening to them. And so it's helped a whole lot. I think that's played a big part in it. We have some good people at that sheriff's office right now, and we trust them to do it, and they do it. I couldn't be more proud of an agency.
Well, I think the sheriff had mentioned that too before, where there's always the need for more staff, but at the same time, you've developed a certain kind of standard that, and unless someone meets it, we'll just work without them until we can fill that.
Yeah.
So I think because it's a short-term gain. Yeah, we get someone in, but if you got someone that doesn't fit, boy, that's going to be a long time to.
Well, if you get the wrong person in, it makes it that much harder on you than if you work short. So if a lot of agencies get so short that they just need a body.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing. They're putting a body in there. But if it can cause you more problems than if you work short. We've taken that approach.
Yeah.
They reach a certain level of ability, or we don't keep them because we just and it's professionalism, and that's what it is. We're not mean to them. We just expect them to do their jobs, and we hold them to a higher standard.
Yeah.
And it's paid off. It really has.
That's really cool. I mean, and so, in your opinion right now, based on, I mean, you've been at the sheriff's office over 20 years at this point. I mean, in law enforcement, 40. What do you think are some of the biggest issues facing us right now, going into the future?
Going into the future is going to be our population, the growth. They're talking about we're probably going to be at 200,000 population within the next 5 to 10 years. So, you know, when you're growing by at least 1/3 of your population in that short of time, you're going to deal with a whole lot of different other crime. You can look around the county now and see the buildings, the houses going up, and the construction of the warehouses and everything else. That this county's growing, and it's growing fast. I've seen it when it wasn't. We would fight for a call, you know, because we wouldn't get but one call all week. To the way we are now, which is pretty much running from call to call. I'm ready for that. I mean, I think I can continue to grow with it. I've always felt like if you're not moving forward, you're standing still, and you've got to be looking ahead. You've got to be prepared for what's coming. We have a lot of criminal element coming out of the Fulton County, Clayton County.
It's the interstate.
Coming,
I mean,
interstate
that's
areas.
And
that's where they're keying off of, is usually around the interstates. So we have been trying to go through some red tape to get some things done with, you know, tag readers on the ramps and video cameras on the ramps, and there's a lot of red tape involved because you got DOT, Georgia Power, everybody's involved with it. But we've been trying to do that for the last 2 or 3 years, and hopefully we're getting close to getting some things done. We have a lot of different things going on. We've started our drone program, which helps a lot. In fact, we used it the other day when we had one run from one of our officers over here off Belk Road the other day.
Okay. And is that Kennedy's thing, or is that the entire CID?
It's Kennedy, and there's 2 or 3 more that work in CID, and then our crime suppression unit, the NARC unit. They have a couple too.
Okay. And you've used those for like missing persons, and I mean it's kind of almost taken the place of the helicopter, where you can kind of.
The helicopter still has a lot of use because it can do a lot of things a drone can't.
That's true.
But drones are advancing so quickly now. Eventually, yes, we'll probably be doing away with a helicopter, because a helicopter does cost a lot of money for upkeep and everything else. The problem is, we have one pilot that he works drug unit, and he lives a good little ways away. If he's not on duty when we need it, it could take him 45 minutes to get it up in the air. And so, that's something we have to weigh, is cost effectiveness.
Well, and jumping back to I guess last year, everyone else kind of jumped in as soon as the announcement came about Sheriff Yeager and the appointment. Everyone just, I mean, it's funny. It just happened so quickly, but yet it's, you know what I mean? So I don't know. How did you kind of approach it initially? Because I mean, like you said, the position was not open at that point. I mean, everyone was putting up signs, and we're like, well, what are you doing?
My thing about it was, Mike and I had talked about it, and he said if he were to get the position, would I be running? And I told him I would, but the position wasn't there yet. I still work for the man. He was my boss, but he's also my friend, and out of respect, I wasn't going to be doing anything until he gave me permission to do it. And so I did, and all these others were sticking up signs, and I was getting calls from a lot of people who wanted me to run. Hey, you need to get something going, And I'd tell them, quick. I said, look, I'm not doing anything till Mike Yeager tell me. And I felt good about it. I felt like if it's God's will, I knew it would happen anyway. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's where I've been going with it. I mean, once my wife and I, he asked me about it when it first came up, when it got out, if I was considering running. And So I went home, my wife and I talked about it, and both of us were like, I don't know if we want to do this. But then I just woke up one morning and I told her, I said, look, I think we're supposed to do this.
Yeah.
So
And obviously,
she was 100% behind it.
yeah. Well, that's good. Well, and again, in a nutshell, we haven't had a race for sheriff in 25 years.
He had one run against him in, I think it was 04 maybe, or 2000.
Okay.
Scott Smith ran against him.
Oh.
That's the only competition he's had, and I think he beat him like 3-1.
Right, something like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
4-1. And so he never had anybody else run against him. So he's so well liked. He's done such a great job.
Yeah.
And so, it's going to be big shoes to fill no matter who wins. You got some big shoes to step into.
Yeah. Well, and thinking back to that one, was it 93? The one with Rodney? I mean, that initial one? Well, and you're friends with him. What is some advice he's kind of given you over the years? I mean,
Rodney is Rodney's thing, and it was during that time too, was that politics gotten so nasty.
yeah.
I don't consider this to be a political race because I have no intention to do any mudslinging, and I expect some to come my way. But I mean, I've been around here for so long. Everybody knows my skeletons. So
nothing new.
somebody's going to say something about it. So something I did when I was a kid, or something I did growing up.
Sure.
So I expect it. I'm pretty thick-skinned. I've been doing it 40 years, so I've learned to accept a lot of things. I've been called everything in the book already. So I feel like I can handle it. And that's the biggest thing. Rodney says, just don't let it get under your skin. Just run on your own merits. Tell them what you can do and what you're going to do and what your experience is, and that's what you have to run on.
Absolutely. Well, and I mean, now we're hearing that I think the election, from what I'm understanding, might not be even until November at this point. So, man.
It could be June, it could be November. We won't know until Mike actually vacates office.
Okay.
They won't set the election date till he officially vacates office.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because I guess they will make sure he's actually leaving.
Yeah.
So, and that won't be, I think he said March 2nd is his actual date, but they will have to wait till March 2nd. Of course, that's a Saturday, so it'll be that following week. I guess they would do something.
Man. So, you ready for this year? I mean, after March 2nd, you're ready to go.
I'm ready to go. Mike has been real good. He knows he was going since Christmas, so he's been slowly turning a lot of stuff over to me since before Christmas. When he went on this cruise, he told me, he said, here's your 10-day trial run. And he did. He left out. In fact, there was a couple of disciplinary things he had sitting on his desk. And
fun. You get to handle that.
He said, I'm going to let you handle these because they have like a 3-day thing for an appeal. And he said, their time won't be up till the following Monday. So he said, you got to sign off on it. And, and he's turned over a lot of the ordering, billing stuff and things that we need, not necessarily what we want.
Always, sure.
And he has trained me on a lot of that stuff. We actually had to do the audits for the special accounts that we have, the seizure accounts and things like that. Had to be turned in by January 31st. So he sat down with me and we went through those things about how he does it, what we have to do. So it's been a good transition so far. It's good training time. Now that I have another whole month with him, I feel like it shouldn't be an issue at all.
No, I mean that's a really cool leg up that you get there.
It is.
I mean, and so one thing I was going to ask you about is obviously with the amount of time that you've had at the sheriff's office, what do you think what skill set do you think you possess going in as being sheriff that the other candidates might not? Kind of separates you from the pack.
The commitment to the county. I've been here my whole life.
Right.
One of the other candidates has been here his whole life. Well, 2 of them, I guess. But one of them didn't actually work here in the county. But I've been involved in the county. Like I said, I coached Little League ball. I played Little League ball here. I've been involved in the schools. I love the schools. In fact, I go to all the school safety committee meetings now, even since I've been away from the schools. They still welcome me because they know my heart and what I like about the schools. And so I just commit to the county. I've been here all my life. My wife's been here all her life. We both went to county public schools. We both my boys were raised in the public schools here. I've been when I was at the police department. I started working security at Heritage School, so I was involved in the private schools. I just feel like that's what sets me apart.
Pretty good understanding of what makes this county work. I mean,
and all these kids I've worked with over the years, and now the adults here.
Yeah, yeah.
So and I think that separates me from the rest of the crowd.
Yeah,
I'm big committed here. I tend to die here. I mean, I'm
sure.
And I know I won't be sheriff forever because I'm getting on up in age, but I'm good for the next 10, 12 years at least. So I think I'm ready. I've committed to it. My wife's committed to it. She understands what it takes.
Yeah, what's it been like for her to kind of get accustomed to that? I mean, it's going to be some kind of a change, won't it? I mean,
she's more of a private person than I am. I'm pretty outgoing anyway, but she's pretty much a private person, and so she's had to get out of her comfort zone on getting out and working with me a lot. Yeah. But she's done real good with it. In fact, she's very good with it, considering she's really never done it before. Yeah. And she keeps me going. She'll prod me on them days when I say, "Do I have to go again?" But
you're asking yourself that a lot. Go to this too.
But she does. She prods me and gets me going again, and she's just been a good powerhouse to keep me focused on where we're going and what we're looking for. Yeah. And she'll do the same thing when I'm sheriff. Them days people are calling me and complaining about everything, she'll go, this is what you asked for.
That's right. That's what we signed up for.
That's right.
All right.
I like helping people.
Yeah.
So I don't mind it. I had, in fact, a guy called me the other night, late at night. He's a friend. I've known him for a good while, but he's older than I am. But one of his kids hadn't come home from work, and they'd been gone for a while. He was in his 20s, and he was worried about him. He called me. He was almost in tears, and I said, "Well, hold on, just calm down, and we'll see what we can do. Tell me where he was at." He was in Atlanta somewhere at work, and he told him he was fixing to head home. And while we were talking on the phone, he got home.
Oh, wow.
And he'd run out of gas or had a flat tire or something. And someone stopped to help him, so that's what threw him so far behind. Yeah. But, I didn't do anything, but just the fact that I was able to talk to him.
Accessibility.
And that was like, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. So it's a good feeling, that people feel like they can call you and just...
Yeah, I mean, it is an incredible responsibility. I mean, that you possess that people can call and reach, and it's not like that inaccessibility. You've been here long enough that, I mean, people just expect it.
And I don't know everything. I've learned that. So with the guys that we got working there now, I don't see it being an issue because it'll be a team approach. It's not going to be I'm the sheriff and I'm going to do it. It's going to be a team approach, and I've already told them, that's one of the things we will be doing is we'll have a lot of meetings and we'll sit down and discuss disciplinary issues we have going on in each division. Yeah. So no one person making decisions. And so personalities can't get involved in it. We're gonna do things right, and we're gonna do it as a team.
Good deal. Well, cool. Well, man, I appreciate you coming over again. I mean, it's
always
awesome to talk to you, and good stories as always.
Yeah.
What's the rest of your year gonna be like in terms of campaigning? How do you handle that? You just here and there, churches and things.
I'll continue to do it like I've been doing at nights, on weekends. Yeah. There'll be some days I'll take off, but Jimmy Arbor will be there to handle things for me, and he'll always be able to get in touch with me if he needs me. Have no vacations planned.
No, you don't.
But, we're excited. To me, the excitement at the office, even, people are excited to see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I've heard from some people that, I imagine this turmoil at your office right now. And I said, no. I said, actually, we all get along well.
Yeah.
even though one of them at the office is running, also he was in my office today and we were cutting up and laughing.
Yeah.
So we get along well. We're trying to keep it that way. We don't want the office in turmoil. We have a hard job.
Yeah.
And we've told, and Mark and I have sat down with, and we've talked to patrol, and we've told them all, the jailers, you know your job, do your job. Don't get caught up in all the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just do your job. You ain't have nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to go well. That's what we're planning on, and we'll just go from there. I'm excited. I think it's an opportunity to really put my spin on things.
Yeah.
Mike's done a great job. We're going to improve. We're not making a whole lot of big changes.
Yeah.
Because he's done such a great job, but there'll be some improvements. There'll be a few changes, but nothing big that people won't even notice. You know?
Yeah.
But there's always got to be some changes because even though Mike has trained me and we do a lot of things there's a lot of things we do different too. Mm-hmm. And we've had those discussions.
Those are fun.
Yeah. So.
Well, at least you got a good understanding. I mean, I think that's the crux of everything. It's just your experience there. Kind of just you've got a great perspective. So I mean, even if you don't agree with someone, you've obviously got that perspective. And I think that goes a lot to say what you were saying with the atmosphere still being positive there. I think everyone is so centered on the good of the organization that they don't see the need to really interject themselves in it, because I mean I think they see it as a whole.
I think so.
Yeah. So all right. Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.